Interesting day here in the Triangle with all of our teams. Of course, with the way that today lined up, of course, one team would have had to have lost between Duke and NC State. Great in-state rivalry. The last NC State quarterback to win here was Russell Wilson.
Oh, wow.
And so far, another NC State quarterback has not won here yet because Duke absolutely dismantled NC State more so towards the end of the first half, but also into the second half in this game.
Yeah, and we can get into C.J. Bailey's performance, but I guess I'll start with at least the good one, the positive, the winning team here, Duke, who really needed this game, Chris. I mean, Duke was a team that going into the year we thought maybe could be the best team in the Triangle.
Yeah.
They were last year. They bring in Darian Mensah. They were able to retain a lot of their talent, guys like Chandler Rivers, and it just hadn't played out to the start of the season.
Yeah.
Tough games versus Tulane, who I think is a really good group of 5 team.
Absolutely.
Obviously, Illinois is a potential college football playoff contender. And they were, -6 in the turnover department.
Yeah.
Darian Mensah, a big part of that. He completely flips that in this game. 3 touchdowns, was really in control. But NC State, on the other side, repeatedly shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah, I mean, 4 turnovers for NC State, and it was just kind of an interesting way how this game played out. Standing upstairs, first quarter of this game, going into the second quarter, I was thinking, man, maybe Duke isn't that good this year. Maybe they have regressed and taken a step back. They could barely move the ball. They couldn't really stop NC State on those short screen passes that were going for long yardage. And then also, they just couldn't tackle Hollywood Smothers at all.
Yeah.
So it just looked like one of those games where Duke would have to go back and try to figure out what's happening at 1-3. They completely turned it around. In the postgame, they kept talking about the middle 8 of the game. They feel like that's where they can flip things, and that's exactly where they did flip things. They scored a touchdown with 2 minutes and 20 seconds left in the first half, another one right before the half, come back in the second half, receive the ball, score another touchdown, and then score another one within 9 minutes of game time. They scored 4 touchdowns, completely flipped this game on its head, and from there they just had the momentum and ran away with it.
And if you're going to boil it down to one play, it was the interception by Trey Freeman, Durham's own Trey Freeman, against C.J. Bailey. As NC State's driving in, end of the half, trying to take a potential double-digit lead. And it's a 4th down play. They didn't even want to snap the ball, actually, Chris. They were talking about it in the postgame. They were trying to potentially draw Duke off sides, but they snapped the ball anyway. You could argue, if you look at the replay, that Duke was offsides, but C.J. Bailey's stuck holding the ball in his hands on 4th down. He's got to make a play. Trey Freeman returns it almost the entire way, and Duke is able to do the rest. And how about Anderson Castle in this game?
Yeah.
I hadn't really familiarized myself with his game up until this point.
Sorry, we weren't familiar with the game, Anderson. Sorry about that.
What a name as well. I'm not going to forget it because he had 3 touchdowns in this one. Really just everything clicking for Duke on offense. I guess you could say everything was clicking for NC State on offense. For me, it's just hard to really get past the turnovers. NC State outgained Duke by over 100 yards. You talked about Hollywood Smothers. The receivers were great. Bailey was great at times, but when you throw 3 interceptions, lose a fumble, have a blocked field goal, you're not going to win the game. And I know you got some interesting insight on that blocked field goal as well.
Yeah, it was a lot of interesting things I gleaned from Duke. So on the blocked field goal, we're talking to Wesley Williams. He's the one who got the block. And he was saying that their coaching staff saw something in the way that NC State lines up for their field goal. So essentially, if you look back at what happened there, they put 3 men right there at the B gap. So with your 2 offensive linemen, when the ball is snapped, they have to make a decision. Wesley Williams was in the middle. Nobody touches him. He literally comes through clean, and he's able to block that. So we asked him afterwards, were you surprised that you got it? And he said, no. It's what we schemed up. We saw this on tape. Yeah. We knew we could get that, and this was the right time to execute that particular thing. So I thought that was very interesting coming from him. I also want to go back to the play you mentioned earlier on the 4th down where they didn't want to snap the ball. If you really look closely, and we have to do this up in the press box, if you really slow it down, the ball was being snapped just as, I think it was VJ
Anthony, yeah.
VJ Anthony comes across the line. He literally moves at the same time the ball does. It looked in real time like it was offsides. Okay. And we all thought it was offsides up top. When you look at it really slow, he's literally moving at the same time as the ball does. And he timed it up perfectly.
Wow, he's having a great season. The dude is locked in.
He's having a great season. So it was like one of those things where the good luck for Duke kind of like rolled with him. And then from there, let's talk about Anderson Castle once again. Transferred into Duke from Appalachian State. sixth year of college football, said that he got a little emotional in the postgame, said that he wanted to come have a new start, came here, feels like he's gained a family, and says he wouldn't have wanted to have his final year of college football with anyone else. And you could just see him being moved to emotion having this type of a game. Jaquez Moore, of course, injured, didn't get a chance to really play. So Anderson Castle's the one that has to step up. And he had a great game, kind of like his coming out game, because he was in a great running back situation at Appalachian State as well. He comes here with a deep running back group, and now he has his opportunity to show what he can do on the field.
Yeah, he's clearly the short yardage back. He's kind of a throwback, like a Mike Allstott kind of a guy, kind of a vibe to him. But then he gets like the long run, which was just a great moment for him. Great moment for Duke. Kind of when you're starting to think, watching this game, wow, is CJ Bailey going to be able to pull off this comeback? And you know what? They turn it over again, which was kind of the story of the game, that it basically ends on a turnover for NC State. And I think if you're the Wolfpack, you just kind of watch this one. You kind of bury the tape. You're on the road. You were probably due for some bad luck. Things, you got down double digits at Wake Forest on the road. You got down double digits to Virginia at home. The defense has been great situationally, but not great overall. They were not able to pressure Darian Mensah in this one. And those things are going to bite you eventually. So I think it's frustrating if you're a Wolfpack fan, because on one hand, you could watch this team you've seen now through 4 games and think, wow, is this a special team?
Yes.
13 years in with Dave Doran, are we finally different? Are we going to be the team that can maybe win an ACC championship, that maybe gets to 10 wins? But when you go into Durham and lose a game like this, and you look at the rest of your schedule, you got Miami and Notre Dame and Georgia Tech. You needed to win this game. So, like, I'm not selling my stock on NC State, but it's hard to see them having that different special season now necessarily when you lost this one.
I'll just take the other end of that. I would say that this is probably good for them that they got the mistakes out now. So that when they do go against those teams that will really make you pay, you turn the ball over against Duke 4 times and still only lost by 12 points. You do that against Miami. You do that against Notre Dame. Turn the ball over once or twice, that could end up being a blowout in that situation. So maybe this is what they needed. Maybe this is a game they needed ahead of time. But I totally get your side as well, because this was a great opportunity to have a great momentum. Virginia Tech next week, that's a team that's reeling. They fired their coach recently. You could win this game, have Virginia Tech, and then have Campbell, and all of a sudden you're 6-0, and you've barely left the state.
And then you're playing Notre Dame.
And then you play Notre Dame, and that's all kinds of momentum that you could have had. So I definitely understand your viewpoint on that as well.
So where do you sit now? We've got a good sample size through the season. I thought Duke would be the best team in the Triangle entering the year. I switched to NC State, obviously, through 3 games. And I think despite the win today for Duke, I'm still in on NC State as the best overall team.
I feel like Duke has the highest floor, but the lower ceiling. I feel like NC State has the higher ceiling of the 2 teams. It really does feel like if once they put it together, NC State just has the pieces to maybe upset a better team. I don't know if Duke can play that same game against a Notre Dame or another team like that and get a win. You know what I'm saying? I feel like there are a few deficiencies in Duke's game, but they're just one of those teams where you're going to have to play them for a full 60 minutes. They're not going to go away. You're going to have to really get at them. They're starting to feel themselves, but right now it's probably tied between NC State and Duke, I would say. You play this game again, NC State probably wins, especially if it's at Carter Finley Stadium.
I guess the positive for Duke is that they get the confidence because they are the team that won it. They were the team that needed the confidence. Darian Mensah comes in here, high-profile transfer. He played okay through the first 2 games, but in this one, he was so smooth, man. Like, I was down on the field shooting the highlights and just getting that spiral into the lens, right into my camera. I mean, I love that stuff. Maybe I'm a little biased because it was a good shooting day for me out there, but that was good to see, like, this guy that come in here with all this hype, this big NIL dollar next to his name, to finally kind of come through in the clutch for Duke.
Speaking of big NIL dollars, let's talk about another game. Gio Lopez reportedly paid $2 million to come to Carolina. Not a good day for him. 2 interceptions versus UCF as Carolina loses that game. And then also Gio Lopez going out with an injury. We don't know the status on that. But once again, you have your backup there.
Max Johnson.
Max Johnson, thank you. I was trying to find his name.
The assist.
You have your backup coming in, Max Johnson coming in to spell for him, but it wasn't enough. UNC ends up losing to UCF as they fall to 2-2 this year. Wasn't too much a surprise for me in that game. UCF, really good team, and Scott Frost has had that team rolling even in his second stint. And his first stint, it was the same way.
And obviously, you and I both need to dig into the quote-unquote tape we've been here in Durham, NC State, just kind of following the UNC game from afar. But just, looking at the box score, reading some of the articles, looking at some of the highlights, it's concerning, it's disappointing, just because obviously the opener was what it was versus TCU. And I think you built up a little bit of equity again. The Charlotte game, they won it. They took care of business, but the red flag was that they did not dominate an American Athletic Conference team. And then Richmond, they did dominate, but it's an FCS team.
Yes.
So you darn well better.
Yeah.
Unless you got a real problem. And then you go play UCF, who is now a power conference team. They're in the Big 12. Scott Frost is their coach. It's a proud program. I used to cover them down in Orlando. Not an easy place to play, despite maybe the size of the stadium. The passion of the fan base rises well above that. But it kind of goes back to my point about NC State. Like, if you can't beat the UCFs on your schedule or the Duke on your schedule, what is UNC going to do in the ACC?
Right.
Because so far now through 4 games, it looks like any and every ACC game is less than a coin flip. Like, you are an underdog in seemingly all of these games. Maybe even Stanford at this point.
Yeah, it feels like this is going to be an ugly season for Carolina. The product on the field is a little ugly as well. I don't think that has anything to do with coaching. I think it just really has a lot to do with there's a learning curve for even Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
Even though you're a 6-time Super Bowl winning coach, there's a learning curve coming to college, dealing with high schoolers, turning them into college players, figuring out who are the good college players, who are third string in other places, bringing them in and seeing what you have for them through the transfer portal. 70 new players, as we said. It's just going to be tough to have that turnaround. For me, I wouldn't expect much from them from here on out. I would expect them to become a little bit more competitive in games versus Power 4 conference teams when they go against the other ACC teams as well. But I don't see them winning too much, and next year is probably going to be the year when all the big recruits come in.
Clemson did lose to Syracuse today, correct?
They did. They got mollywopped.
And so now UNC has a bye, and they've got to go host Clemson, which is, it's going to be interesting. Because you'd think that one would be like, Clemson's going to come in here and absolutely blow the doors off UNC. Clemson's going to come in here. I mean, that school is completely reeling. I don't think UNC just has the talent, period, to be able to beat even a reeling Clemson. But what a fun turnaround that would be if Bill Belichick pulls that trump card out of his pockets, like, you wrote me off after 4 games, and here I come and beat Clemson. I mean, anything's on the table in triangle football. But yeah, I mean, I certainly don't think that's going to happen. But yeah, I mean, that game's coming up here. It could go from bad to worse if Clemson's coming in here motivated, trying to turn their season around.
Well, hey, you're going to have Ludacris on your campus that day, so maybe you just kind of really get motivated, roll out, tell them to move, get out the way, all that good stuff, and try to see if you can get a win against Clemson. This will be the right time to try to do it if you're going to do it.
Yeah.
If you're going to do it now.
Yeah, well, a long way to go here for Bill Belichick. Hopefully a humbling start, and hopefully not the end for Bill. Hopefully it's not one and done, because clearly, as you said, they're bringing all these new players, probably a bigger learning curve than he anticipated, probably that a lot of us anticipated. It's understandable to get caught up, swept up in some of the hype of the greatest coach of all time.
Yeah.
When you'd see some other teams be able to turn things around in the transfer portal. Probably wasn't a great year in the transfer portal. Also tough to evaluate the transfer portal when you've never done that before.
Yeah, it's always going to be a learning curve. Be patient with it. But we've seen some good football, and we're going to have to see what Duke and NC State do to finish out the season.
All right, that's it for us. We got a 9:10. We got a report to get on TV here, but thanks for listening to us. For Chris Lee, I'm Pat Welter, signing off in Durham.